The SEC's war on crypto is a land grab of the most brazen kind. It's proven incredibly unpopular, not only with the crypto community, of course, but also with other federal regulators, judges, lawmakers, and even some of the SEC's own commissioners. To keep up the act, SEC Chair Gary Gensler needs all the support he can get. You know, someone to stand in the audience and clap when he calls cryptos digital asset securities. Someone to stand behind his shoulder and mutter, "Yeah, you tell 'em, boss." So today we investigate the SEC's trusty sidekick, FINRA, who they are, what they do, and how they prop up the Commission's dubious claims to jurisdiction over crypto. Stay tuned. FINRA is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. The name makes it sound like it's at the top of the regulatory food chain, overseeing all of Wall Street. But this is not the case. FINRA is a self-regulatory organisation with one job: overseeing securities broker-dealers who serve retail investors. Now, for reference, brokers are the intermediaries who execute trades of securities, like stocks, bonds, and options, on behalf of clients. Dealers, meanwhile, are firms who trade securities on their own behalf. And you'll often hear the catch-all term broker-dealer, which can refer to firms playing either or both of these roles. In the US, federal securities laws prevent retail investors from buying and selling securities directly. Instead, they have to go through a registered securities broker, as only broker-dealers can transact on securities exchanges. All brokers who serve retail investors are required to register as members of FINRA. Now, as a self-regulatory organisation, FINRA's jurisdiction is limited to its own members. For these firms, FINRA writes, examines for, and enforces its own rules, in addition to enforcing compliance with federal securities laws. And if you're wondering, Guy, I thought this was a crypto channel, why are you telling me this? Well, that's a good question. As a securities industry regulator, FINRA has no business taking up space on this channel. And believe me, we would just love to forget all about them. But the thing is, FINRA is becoming obsessed with crypto, and not in a good way. Despite having no regulatory authority over non-securities assets, FINRA is trying to rebrand as a crypto regulator. You see, FINRA is a creation of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they're doing their best to play sidekick in the Commission's war on crypto. To be clear, FINRA isn't the one knocking on doors and cracking skulls. That's Gurbir Grewal's enforcement division at the SEC. FINRA CEO Robert Cook explained his organisation's place in the regulatory food chain thus, quote, "We're not looking to regulate or fundamentally change the regulatory structure. That's above our pay grade. That's the SEC, other federal regulators, Congress, figuring out what is, the appropriate rules of the road here." Well, it was nice of Cook to mention other federal regulators and Congress. But the thing is, the SEC unilaterally decided what the rules of the road are. It did so over the complaints of Congress and other federal regulators, namely the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or CFTC, with whom the SEC has a long-standing turf war over crypto regulation. And this is where FINRA comes in. Its job is to launder the SEC's claim that almost all cryptos are securities. So it appears that someone outside of SEC HQ actually agrees. FINRA plays the role of trusty sidekick in two ways. The first is by parroting the view of the SEC in its own communications. In doing so, FINRA studiously ignores the elephant in the room. It treats the SEC's stance as a consensus position, rather than one whose legitimacy is openly doubted in the House, Senate, CFTC, federal courts, and of course the crypto industry, not to mention by some of the SEC's own commissioners. The second way that FINRA plays sidekick is by gatekeeping the special permissions that are required for crypto exchanges to register and operate as securities exchanges, as the SEC insists they do. Spoiler alert. It's impossible for crypto firms to register and operate in compliance with securities laws. FINRA helps the SEC keep up the pretense that there is a path to registration and compliance, but only one company has accomplished this, and it is incredibly sus. More on that later. But first, if you're enjoying this video, smash the like button to give it a boost and make sure you're subscribed and have your bell notifications turned on so you can catch our next upload before anyone else. Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt the video, but I just want to very quickly tell you about the Coin Bureau Deals page. This is the place where we put together all the amazing deals and promos that we're able to offer you guys exclusively as viewers of this channel. Head on over and you will find such things as discounts on hardware wallets, some seriously impressive trading fee discounts on some of the best exchanges, as well as some frankly mind-boggling sign-up bonuses for some of those exchanges too. The link is down below. Check it out when you have a moment. Thank me later. And now, back to the video. Now, FINRA first dipped its toes into crypto in 2018 when it began a long-running series of posts on its website entitled FINRA encourages firms to notify FINRA if they engage in activities related to digital assets. This request is a little odd because FINRA's member firms are mostly securities brokers who can't legally handle crypto on behalf of their retail customers. Current SEC guidance states that broker-dealers who trade, quote, crypto asset securities must limit their business activities solely to crypto asset securities. This means that broker-dealers can't transact crypto unless they refrain from trading stocks, bonds, options, or Bitcoin, as BTC is the sole crypto definitely not considered a security by the SEC. But stocks, bonds, and options are the bread and butter of broker-dealers. They are what the word security generally refers to. To transact in so-called crypto asset securities, broker-dealers would have to sever their traditional lines of business, which is not exactly a recipe for success. And what exactly is a crypto asset security anyway? SEC Chair Gary Gensler claims that the, quote, vast majority of cryptos are securities, but SEC rules and guidance largely prevent cryptos from being registered as securities. For example, registered securities must make public current information about the issuer's officers and board of directors, business activities, and audited financial statements. Cryptos tend not to have any of these things, and it's often not clear who counts as the issuer. To date, just 9 cryptos have been registered as securities. Of these, 3 no longer exist, and 1 is no longer registered as a security. The remaining 5 are mostly obscure low caps with virtually no trading volume. So, can you imagine broker-dealers giving up stocks, bonds, and options just to be able to trade 5 obscure crypto securities on behalf of their retail clients? Any degen in the market for one of these cryptos is not going to pick up the phone and call a securities broker. They're going to use a SEX or a DEX. Predictably, the vast majority of FINRA's member firms are securities brokers who trade stocks, bonds, and options, and not these 5 cryptos. As such, it's odd for FINRA to repeatedly call on them to report crypto-related activity. But unfortunately, it's not just odd, it's an extraordinary overreach. FINRA asks member firms to report not only their own activity, but also that of their, quote, associated firms or affiliates involving digital assets of any kind. In doing so, FINRA casts an extremely wide net. It's hard to overstate just how expansive this request is. From employees of FINRA member firms who dabble in Bitcoin in their spare time to any affiliated non-FINRA member company or individual engaging in crypto-related activities, all are asked to report to FINRA. Such an expansive request exceeds the scope, intent, and language of FINRA's own reporting rules. And although FINRA cannot force its member firms to submit these reports, the vast majority of broker-dealers are small firms who are precariously beholden to FINRA. Perhaps as a result of this, anecdotal accounts suggest that broker-dealers are indeed burning time and resources entertaining FINRA's requests. According to one first-hand account, quote, broker-dealers are increasingly required to dedicate time and resources to navigate intrusive and often nonsensical FINRA crypto asset regulatory inquiries. These inquiries are often focused on products or services that are not even offered by the FINRA member itself. This account described FINRA's crypto snooping as, quote, an outsourced, self-serving educational program of sorts paid for and imposed on FINRA members by regulatory fiat. And FINRA's data collection drive is accelerating. In 2023, it sent a questionnaire to around 600 member firms who were suspected of either engaging in crypto-related activity or having some connection to a person or company engaging in crypto-related activity. A year on, FINRA has shared some of its findings, but I'll warn you, they're pretty opaque. In a post entitled FINRA provides update on member firms' crypto asset activities, it says that the questionnaire helped it to identify 390 member firms who are either engaged in crypto-related activity or have some kind of, quote, touch point with a company or person who is. But, as FINRA points out, quote, many of the touch points identified are indirect in that they relate to activity being conducted by associated persons, affiliates, or parent companies rather than directly by member firms. And you might expect FINRA to explain how many of the 390 listed firms were included because they engaged in crypto-related activity directly, and how many were included because they had some connection to someone who did. However, FINRA doesn't provide this information, so the composition of this list is left up to our imagination. But okay, let's just go with it. Now, what kind of activities are represented on this list? Well, the activities observed by FINRA include providing the infrastructure for institutional clients to trade crypto OTC, trialing the use of permissioned blockchains, affiliate marketing, and introducing institutional clients to third parties who provide crypto custody, investment banking, and advisory services. This is a list of activities of institutions serving other institutions, and notably, it doesn't include directly transacting crypto by FINRA member firms. As such, none of this activity falls within FINRA's mandate, which is to oversee securities brokers serving retail investors. Perhaps this is why FINRA doesn't explain why it's monitoring these activities. FINRA also doesn't say how many member firms were partaking in each type of activity. It just mentions that it has detected these activities with no indication of their scale. Well, that is, except for one. FINRA reports that, quote, one member firm has been approved to custody crypto asset securities. And this leads us to FINRA's second responsibility as SEC sidekick. This is to maintain the pretense that crypto firms have a viable path to complying with existing securities laws and regulations. Now, I'll tell you all about that one member firm in a moment, but first, it's important to understand just how farcical this all is. Firstly, registered securities exchanges can only trade securities. They therefore rely on crypto projects to register their coin or token as a security to have anything to list or trade. But, as I explained earlier, SEC rules and guidance make it impossible to register most cryptos as securities. The way cryptos are issued and function can't comply with the existing disclosure requirements for registered securities, and the SEC has not provided any framework for how these requirements could be coherently applied to crypto. If a crypto exchange registered as a securities exchange, it could only list the 5 registered crypto securities that do exist. As a result, nobody would use it, and it would be forced out of operation immediately. Secondly, only registered broker-dealers can buy and sell securities. This means that, under securities laws, you could not use your own crypto to conduct transactions on a blockchain, nor could you buy and sell crypto on exchanges. All transactions would have to be routed through a broker. However, as we saw earlier, there are virtually no brokers specializing in crypto securities. This means that even if a crypto exchange was able to register as a securities exchange, there would be no one able to legally trade on it. Thirdly, federal securities laws require customer securities to be custodied by a, quote, qualified custodian and in a, quote, good control location, such as a depository, bank, or clearing agency. In securities markets, these qualified custodial services are typically provided by broker-dealers and banks. Securities exchanges don't meet the requirements to become a qualified custodian, so they are not able to custody customer assets. Meanwhile, federal banking regulator guidance makes it effectively impossible for banks to provide custodial services for crypto. This leaves broker-dealers, but the problem there is crypto wallets do not fit the definition of a good control location. Also, the qualified custodian is required to have exclusive physical possession or control of the customer's securities. This means that the use of multi-sig wallets or other best practices for custodying crypto violate SEC custody rules. So, clearly, the regulatory framework for securities is incompatible with crypto on many levels. To fix this would mean a significant overhaul. However, the SEC rejects this and insists that there is no need for change. For example, in April 2023, Gary Gensler called on crypto exchanges to, quote, come in and register as securities exchanges, knowing full well that this is not possible for the reasons I just explained. Now, when the crypto industry points out that this is impossible, the SEC needs to have a response, some basis for saying, you're wrong, there is a clear pathway for you, but you're refusing to take it. And this is where FINRA comes back in. In 2020, the SEC created a new category of broker-dealer called a special purpose broker-dealer, or SPBD. SPBDs are exempted from the regulations that prevent traditional broker-dealers from custodying crypto. They are allowed to, for example, use multi-sig wallets. So, SPBDs have the unique ability to both transact crypto securities and custody them on behalf of their clients. As the regulator for broker-dealers, it is FINRA who is responsible for granting SPBD status to broker-dealers. So, I hear you ask, how many SPBDs have been approved by FINRA? Well, you may recall that FINRA stated on its website that, quote, one member firm has been approved to custody crypto asset securities. So, who could it be? Maybe Coinbase? No. Introducing Prometheum, the only SPBD to have been approved by FINRA since the category was first invented 4 years ago. Now, Prometheum is fascinating. It does not purport to have any business model or purpose other than obeying the SEC and FINRA as loudly as possible. It does not pretend to have any other value proposition. As such, it looks more like a political statement than a business. This begins to make sense when you look at Prometheum's board. It includes a chief regulatory officer whose previous job was a 14-year stint at FINRA, a chief compliance officer who is a former SEC attorney, and veteran securities lawyer Martin Kaplan as chairman. Now, Kaplan's website boasts that he has, quote, an established reputation and substantial and regular contact with the SEC and FINRA. Kaplan's 2 sons, meanwhile, serve as Prometheum's co-CEOs. Of the 2, Aaron Kaplan serves as public face and spokesperson. Now, last June, Aaron was invited to testify before a congressional hearing on crypto regulation, and he really stole the show. Kaplan used his time to attack crypto exchanges, sing the praises of the SEC, and insist that no new crypto regulations could improve on the existing federal securities laws. In the official transcript of his testimony, there is one sentence in bold. Quote, there is a compliant path forward for crypto in the United States that the SEC has clearly laid out. Kaplan then told the House that Prometheum would not be able to trade BTC or ETH because they are not securities. Actually, at the time of making this video, Prometheum has never traded anything. Although the company says it has been in development since 2017, it is still not operational. Now, things went quiet for a while after that congressional hearing, and you could be forgiven for forgetting all about this strange company. But recently, Prometheum resurfaced in the news when it announced that it would be trading UNI and ARB. It's easy to laugh at Prometheum, but this news was a reminder that there's a good reason to take it seriously. This is because the SEC has given it a free pass to determine which cryptos are securities and which aren't. Under the SEC's rules, an SPBD is not required to even consult with the SEC when deciding whether an asset it wants to trade or custody qualifies as a security. The SEC merely says that an SPBD won't face any enforcement action so long as it maintains its own system for determining whether a digital asset is a security, pursuant to a registration statement or an exemption from such registration. This is wild because SPBDs can only handle cryptos that are considered securities. So they have a financial interest in classifying as many cryptos as securities as possible, and almost total freedom to do this at will. Case in point, back in May, Prometheum launched a crypto custody service which treated ETH as a security. It's almost as if the firm was trying to stop the approval of the spot Ethereum ETFs with this declaration. The approvals happened a few days later, confirming that ETH is actually a commodity. Meanwhile, security status is a matter of life or death for crypto in the US, as evidenced by the many years and likely billions of dollars spent by the SEC and the crypto industry litigating this very issue. Now, the unpopularity of the SEC's war on crypto has visibly weakened the Commission's hand. And this was evidenced by its U-turns over the spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, and the withdrawal of allegations against specific cryptos in the Binance and Coinbase suits. But while the SEC and the crypto industry clash in court, in the media, and in Washington over the security-non-security debate, FINRA is able to quietly appoint SPBDs who can unilaterally declare security status without any legal scrutiny, transition period, or clarity regarding the regulatory consequences of this determination. And sure, so far there is only one SPBD, and it's not like it's going to flip Binance anytime soon. But the fact that this strangely powerful category even exists is deeply concerning. So, we'll be keeping a beady eye on FINRA as it continues its intrusion into crypto regulation. Because who knows, the next time Gary Gensler needs political backup, more SPBDs might just appear on the scene. Right, that's all for today, folks. Smash the like if you learned something, and let us know what you think about Prometheum in the comments. If you're interested in learning more about specific altcoins by way of our unrivaled deep dive reviews, then why not join the Coin Bureau Club? We've so far covered dozens of projects for our members who also get to vote on what they'd like us to review in the future. There's an exclusive members Discord where you'll find the best community in all of crypto and a whole lot more besides. The link is down in the description. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. This is Guy, over and out.